Hey, internet pals. Welcome back to Walking and Talking, the show where I walk and talk. When I said that, as I was saying that, I was aware of the automatic nature of saying it. That is, like, by the end of saying this introductory phrase, welcome back to Walking and Talking, the show where I walk and talk. By the end of saying that, I was already thinking about how it felt automatic. I didn't quite feel genuine, whatever that means. Authentic. I don't know exactly what that means. Anyways, I feel relatively relaxed right now. Relatively, not completely, but yesterday I tried to do this, but I was so agitated that I couldn't make it past an hour, and decided to stop, and it became a lost episode, and I deleted the footage. But I just won't go any more into that, because what's important is that I'm walking and talking now, and having exercised this morning and eaten a healthy smoothie, I feel a lot calmer. Also, the time of day has a difference, because yesterday I started walking and talking just as rush hour was picking up, and there's so much car traffic at the beginning that I had to yell a lot, and it was very annoying. But anyways, I feel that I may be veering off topic here. Not that there was a topic to begin with, but it seems like there's a kind of a direction of focus, I guess. Maybe there's not. I don't feel like I don't feel like there's like a feeling of blockage mentally or physically right now. I don't feel any physical maladies. I feel like I have enough energy. I'm not feeling disturbed by the thoughts, or so much hearing my own voice. Though when I started to say that, then I became a little bit more aware of the sound of my own voice. But I'm not feeling particularly embarrassed or mortified by hearing my own voice or hearing the things that I say. And I'm not judging my thoughts too negatively right now. I'm just kind of continuing in a fairly stable mind state and emotional state. And that feels fine. The temperature is colder now than on any previous episode of Walking and Talking thus far. I guess I would say that I feel pretty normal right now. Like there's nothing really jumping up at me as something to pay attention to. It's not any outstanding sensations or emotions that I feel like I need to express right now. So I suppose I can take that as an opportunity to focus on the task at hand, which is just to keep talking, really. And I suppose it's been several days since I've done this, and I'm, well, actually, except for yesterday, but yesterday was a little bit of a botched attempt. Anyhow, enough about yesterday. What's going on now is what I am interested in, and now I'm starting to begin to put effort into actually talking, I think, because I don't actually have anything that I feel like I need to talk about or want to talk about. So I'm just going to be putting a little effort into continuing to go on here without having anything to say, really. And I'm feeling some amount of self-consciousness, or some amount of struggle about what to say. Because it seems already like my natural state would be to just be silent. But I'm interested in what kind of words might come out if I go against that natural inclination and continue to talk. Like right now, this sentence that I'm saying right now, I didn't really have an idea of it that I was aware of until maybe just like a split second before I started saying it. I was aware of the thoughts of saying, like right now. That's how I started that sentence, by saying, like right now. I wasn't aware of saying that. I wasn't aware of those thoughts forming into my head until just a split second before they came out of my mouth. And now, just recently, there was a little bit of a gap, and I was expending some sort of effort into what we could call centering myself, or focusing on the present, and that sort of thing. There's some feelings about not being totally confident about what I'm doing right now. Some thoughts about questioning the value of what I'm doing right now. And I think that's persisting. I don't yet feel much of a sense of discovery in what I'm saying. And I'm wondering if this use of time is good for me and good for you. But I don't like feel any strong evidence or anything right now that this is a good use of time, but I have the knowledge that every past episode where I've done this for about 4 hours, something seems to make sense about it eventually. Like eventually, as time progresses, then I'll start to become aware of qualities of the video or something, or I come into a slightly different mind state or something, but I have a memory of how this question of whether this is a good thing to be doing with my time and your time, that question kind of goes away. And just in the past few moments, as I've been talking about this, already that has started to materialize. I mean, I don't know if materialize is the right word here. It's not completely appropriate, but what I mean is that I have started in the past few minutes already to let go of the question of whether this is a good use of time or not, and let go of the question of whether this is valuable or not, and to kind of exist in a different kind of mental space where the question of value is not so much in the forefront. And I wonder if that feeling for me also resonated with you at all. If you might be feeling some similar things. But I'm not worried about it. I'm not right now. I don't actually feel like worried about your experience right now. I feel but I feel connected with your experience right now, and I feel aware of it and aware of the link between your and my experiences via these words. And I actually am feeling comforted by that connection. So I almost want to thank you for being here for this. I mean, it's not exactly like I really have to thank you, or like I owe you thanks or something, but it's more that I just want you to know that I'm feeling like you're as much a part of what's happening right now as I am. And to be honest, when I was just saying that, I had a feeling of a loosening of the difference between you and I. Like when I was saying that you're as much of a part of this as I am, it felt like, yeah, I'm moving in the direction of expressing this actual experience, but to express this experience fully now, I think oh, here's a banana. This banana is like right at the stage where I like them. A little bit of brown spots. I know the community is divided on how they like their bananas, but I'm on the side of brown spots of very ripe bananas. You may be one of the people that likes unripe bananas or less ripe bananas. And I respect your position, but we'll have to agree to disagree. It's not that we actually disagree, but we have different preferences. Anyhow, what I was saying before finding that banana was that something like something like I don't feel a need to acknowledge you now, or to thank you now for being here, because it's as if like I'm experiencing some kind of merging. And to talk about you and to talk about your experience further beyond this point might kind of limit that. So I'm curious to see what words will come next, what the nature of the next words will be like, and if they will reflect this experience of merging, or that may or may not exist. But now I'm thinking like maybe I don't actually have to avoid using these terms, you and I. Maybe I don't have to avoid that kind of dichotomy, because in a way in a way, it does actually exist, but it could be that it actually exists in the context of language, and in the context of this YouTube video. You know, like this YouTube video being a means of communication, and dare I say, perhaps connection. You know, using you and I might not necessarily hinder a feeling of merging, because, man, how can I say this? It's like the words are being used now to make this connection. And I'm not sure if it's really possible to maintain it in a totally like depersonalized way. Like I don't believe that we're gonna like have some telepathic connection. And I guess when I say like a merging, like some merging is taking place, you know, I don't really mean to say that it's happening to such a degree that that communication is no longer necessary. But actually, to be honest, this communication is not necessary. And, you know, there is not information here that is really of any significance for me to relay to you. I'm not holding any information that that I can give to you that you are going to gain from. It's more like we're just here. And there's words here. So I don't know. I guess the words are doing something. I guess the language is here for something. And it's maybe it's pointing us somewhere. Or to something, but you know, I'm maybe not actually. Maybe everything is. Maybe it's all just here in the words, or the words are just part of it. I guess I'm feeling confused about I'm feeling confused about talking about the difference between you and I as, you know, separate perceiving bodies. I'm walking over here to a big, like, construction dumpster. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. And then I was of this furniture place, and was looking into it because they sometimes throw out some furniture. And then an employee of the place, or he's either an employee of the place or he's a truck driver, walked out and saw me, like, looking in the dumpster, and so I said, "Hi, how are you?" It looked like there was several, like, desktops, like the tops of desks in the dumpster that looked pretty new, but they're probably like particle board or made out of that compressed sawdust stuff. And MDF, what is it called? Manufactured fiber board or something like this. And, you know, like, yeah, the stuff that inexpensive furniture is made out of, like all the sawdust glued together. If MDF, maybe if you know maybe if you know this acronym, you can comment. So obviously I haven't like stopped using the words you and I or me, and maybe it's kind of foolish to imagine language without that. But maybe, I don't know, maybe there's, or to imagine communication. Obviously I'm communicating with you. Like I could talk a lot without ever referring to you. I don't know. Maybe I should just maybe it's time to just let go of whatever it was I was trying to figure out. And I think along this train of thought, I remember saving up some other thoughts to say later, but they're not jumping out at me now. But I feel in a somewhat lighthearted mood because partly because now I'm thinking about the two incidents that have happened on this Walking and Talking episode. The first being finding the banana, and the second being encountering an employee while I was looking in the dumpster of his place of employment. And both of those occurrences being just like very subtly humorous, and to be a subtle break in the otherwise maybe somewhat difficult or heady monologue that was going. Well, you know, it's still a monologue, of course, but I think you know what I'm talking about. They're I don't think I need to say any more about this. Let's just keep on going with wherever this is going. I have this banana in my pocket, but you know, I can stop talking about that, because obviously the banana is an archetypal object that has a lighthearted nature about it. You know what I mean? Like, perhaps in some sense, in some situations, it could have a very subtle phallic connotation. Wait, is it connotation or implication? The one that's more subtle. Tell me in the comments the difference between a connotation and an implication. I think one of them's like an overt. Oh no, it is. Wait, or it's not a signification. The signification is like very overt meaning, and connotation, I forget whether I'm wanting to connote. I forget whether I'm wanting to say that the banana has very subtle phallic connotations or phallic implications. But nonetheless, even if it doesn't have any of that, the banana is like functions in our collective psyche. I mean, at least I would say in the developed in the at least I think in the like American European world, the banana is has an element of comic relief to it in pretty much any situation where it's used, which is, you know, totally inappropriately divorced from the exploitative agricultural practices of banana farming in the global south, where people are harvesting and processing bananas at wages that are next to slave labor, and you know, with blatant disregard to the environment and all. You know, none of the social reality, none of the social or environmental reality of the production of bananas is present in their archetypal nature in the European American, you know, the West as we call it. Anyhow, you know this even right now, as I'm talking about like serious political stuff, the fact that it involves a banana already is already undermining the seriousness with a level of detached humor or something, like I'm feeling a conflict right now between the humorous levity of going on a diatribe about bananas and genuinely like wanting to empathize and having concern over the suffering that is caused by their production. Anyhow, this is why I get all my bananas from the dumpster. There's so many bananas in dumpsters. You know, I just like at least once a year I dumpster a big ass box of bananas in, you know, perfectly good shape, often at the very peak of ripeness when they're starting to have a little bit of brown dots on the side. You know, my favorite stage of banana ripeness is when they're in the dumpster, you know. The stores throw them out just before they're getting perfect. So if you really want a perfect banana, look in the fucking dumpster of the grocery store. Go to a grocery store that's not big enough to have a trash compactor. And what's better about this banana is that it's gonna taste even more delicious without being tainted by the blood of colonialism. It's getting warm. I'm gonna have to take off some layers. I'm gonna have to take off my sweatshirt. There's 4 geese here swimming in a perfect line past 2 turtles. There's just a little bit of silence for you, a little bit of gap of, a little bit of absence of talking. Savor it. I sure was. No, not really, because I was still thinking about what to say next. Let's do another one. Let's do a silence, and this one I'm actually going to savor it. All right, here we go. Not talking. Feels good. There's sun beating down on me, and it feels good as well. I'm gonna have to pee at some point in the near future, but I'm on the like part of the path that's very nicely landscaped. Not much overgrown shrubbery for me to hide behind and perform my natural function. Here comes a gator, I think. Little golf cart looking thing. It's slowly stalking me. It's behind me. It's gonna pass me. Probably one of the perks of being a landscaper is driving a gator. This walking and talking has had a lighthearted mood, but I have to expose something to you, which is that before I did this, before I came out here, I had probably about 3/4 of a cup of a black tea mixed with white tea. Because the other day I made some white tea, also from the dumpster. Thank you. And I made some black tea for my friend, and it wasn't finished. So then I mixed my leftover white tea with the leftover black tea, and it's about 3/4 of a cup. And I drank that this morning. So that could have a profound effect on my mood right now. And just be aware of how this media might be affecting your mood. Maybe it's elevating your mood because of mirror neurons. When you're around somebody who's happy, it makes you happy, but just be careful not to develop dependency. Like me, I'm probably feeling the effects of caffeine, maybe also combined with the fact that I exercised and ate a healthy smoothie that had kale and stuff in it. But I'm gonna eventually feel the crashing effect of the caffeine once it wears off. And then I'll just feel the opposite of how I feel now. Ooh, nanny berries. I think pretty sure these are nanny berries. I didn't know these grew here. They taste a little bit like dates to me. Damn, these are so good. Nanny berries. They're a type of viburnum, and occasionally they get planted as a landscaping plant. But also, last weekend, I found a whole bunch growing wild, but not close to where I live. They were growing over a river, and I was paddling a boat in the river this past weekend, and I could just reach up and grab the berries. But you know, you don't need to hear about that. I'm not trying to stir up FOMO. What's also insidious about this piece of media, you know, I just spoke excitedly about an experience that I had last weekend, and I spoke excitedly about finding nanny berries right now. But I'm under the influence of caffeine. So it's not real. The excitement, well, I mean, it's real in the sense that it is my present experience. And in a sense, caffeine doesn't have any inherent difference as a substance than, you know, anything else I would consume, like food, or, you know, any experience that I might have. I'm just meaning to say that something that we consider a substance, like caffeine, interacts with our brain, but so does food, so does our environmental conditions around us, so does socializing, so does everything. So I just want to say that, you know, this elevated level of energy that we're experiencing right now is not going to last. And I'm afraid that to the extent that we enjoy it, we're gonna not like the absence of it. Is it possible to enjoy it without feeling the negative effects of not having it? And I'm not talking about caffeine specifically. I'm just talking about an elevated mood state, feeling positive, feeling energetic, that sort of thing. I don't think I'm exactly thinking positively right now. I think I'm being fairly objective and rational and clear-minded, but I'm feeling energetic. I'm like the how can I express this? I'm not like the words are coming out without much effort now. I don't feel the pain of hearing myself talk. I don't feel a pain of trying to come up with the next thing to say. And I know that that's not always the case. I'm aware that what's happening right now with us, with you and I, feels good. And I feel kind of suspicious of feeling good. Because you have to suffer in order to feel good. I think. And in my mind, in my memory, I have this memory of walking and talking yesterday and really suffering a lot doing it and hating it and feeling unenergetic and unfocused and hyper self-critical and being aware of all that, but not being able to alter the fact that that's what my experience was. Maybe there was some ounce of knowing in me yesterday that state wouldn't last. I think I did know that, but it didn't enable me to change it in the moment when it was happening. And I think that's probably also what's happening now. But in the other direction, which is I feel physically and emotionally good right now. And I'm expressing my deep skepticism about feeling good. But it's not necessarily going to change my emotional state. But as I'm hearing myself talk about this, I guess I find it kind of interesting that that my thought process is going the way it's going, and that I'm very aware of this skepticism, and as if even if I'm feeling emotionally good, perhaps I'm being successful at maintaining a distance from it, at least in thought. But that's fun. That's very funny now, as I just heard myself saying that. It's very funny that that's how I'm interpreting this behavior now. That's how I'm thinking about myself as succeeding in something. I'm framing this experience in a positive light of growth and development, which I feel very aware now that that's something that I would tend to do while being in a positive mood, but being in a negative mood, I would tend to do the opposite, and I would frame my experience in terms of failure instead, and it would continue this thought cycle, this negative thought cycle, which is funny. And because now I'm just being aware that that my thought processes probably are actually being affected by my emotional state right now. And my emotional state is probably a large factor in why I just kind of automatically framed my experience in terms of positive growth and development. And it would, just be, and I was, when I started doing that, I wasn't aware of that. I was just like, this is normal, or this is truth. But it's not necessarily any kind of objective truth, because maybe if I hadn't drinking that tea this morning, I'd be thinking I'd be interpreting this experience as failure or something. But now of course, it looks like a camera bag. I just walked past what appears to be a camera bag, and then I stopped and kicked it and to see if there was weight in there, and yes, there is something heavy in there. And so now I'm curious, did somebody leave a nice camera on the trail? Which would be kind of weird. Or maybe opportune if I were of that nature. Well, I'm pretty opportune person. But maybe if the camera had a name tag on it or something, I'd probably return it to the person. What do I do? Should I just leave the camera there? I'm assuming that it's a camera. It might not be. Is there somebody really close by that's coming back for it? Who would leave a camera on the trail intentionally, though? Who would do that? If I go and open the case, is somebody gonna come at me hey, what are you doing? Let's find out. Let's find out what happens. What if this was a really nice camera that had no name tag on it? What would I do? Should I take it? Would the owner come back looking for it? Would somebody else just take it if I didn't take it? Could I put it to good use? What's going to happen? Here it is. Let's see what's in this case. Okay. It's just I think it's just clothes and somebody's coffee mug. So it could easily just be left there by somebody who's biking on the trail or jogging on the trail, and they're just dropped off their weight there. A mug, I think, a coffee mug, and a shirt or something. So my moral dilemma is solved. That's definitely a camera bag though. It's funny that that I actually recognized that my thought process was likely being affected by my emotional and physical state. And I could go a step further. And when I recognized that, I felt skepticism on a higher level. One meta level of awareness above what came before. now I could take this a step further and say that I'm even further self-aware, or this is further evidence of my development or something like that, and growth, because I'm aware on even this middle level. But then that would just be continuing this cycle of framing my experience in a positive light of growth and development, which is the thing that I was skeptical of in that level below. You know what I'm saying? It would just be this cycle that like keeps negating itself. I'm not sure if you quite follow that, but that's okay. Don't imagine that there's anything to be gained to begin with. Walking past some nice looking stinging nettles. Maybe I don't have a bag. This is happening again. I'm getting hot, so I'm looking for a place to stash my sweatshirt. I'm wearing 3 layers of clothing on the top level of me, and each layer has very distinct social connotations, if I'm using the word connotation correctly. The top layer is a green hooded sweatshirt, and the hooded sweatshirt is very unique in its ambiguity of class signification. And what I mean by that is, you could be a member of almost any socioeconomic class, and you could wear a hooded sweatshirt without sticking out or being aberrant. Perhaps you in some social functions you can't show up to work in a hooded sweatshirt. If you work in an office or something like that. But outside of work, no matter how rich you are, you can still wear a hooded sweatshirt and fit within the appropriate signification system of your socioeconomic class. And so wearing a hooded sweatshirt generally reveals very little information about you as a person. And that's something that I really like about it. You can blend in to almost any subculture wearing a hooded sweatshirt. It's very unoffensive. Certainly hooded sweatshirts can be adorned with things that would further signify a subculture or perhaps a socioeconomic status, like a brand name, like if you're in one of the upper classes or upper middle class or something, or whatever, or even just your aspiration towards socioeconomic status can be signified by a brand name like Hollister or whatever, or Pink, or like one of those ones that has all the like curly cues like coming down from the top that looks kind of gothic. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. That like what I take to be upper middle. No, not necessarily. Just no, not that. Young men wear in the United States. Maybe I'm getting too specific and obscure here, but and then also you could have a big back patch of your favorite crust punk band, or like a back patch of like a dandelion or something, if you're like signify your anarcho-primitivist leanings. But regardless of all that, the plain hooded sweatshirt, without any writing or symbols on it, has very few connotations, and so you can blend in. So that's the layer that I'm wearing. That's my top layer here, and then my middle layer on the top here is a collared cotton shirt, collared button-up cotton shirt that I guess you would call this plaid, but it's only two colors of plaid, and they're fairly muted colors. Like it's like gray, a bluish gray, and kind of a darkish red, like burgundy or something like that. And it's not like a flannel. It's not a thick one. It's a thin one. The full on like multicolored thick flannel button up has a connotation of rugged Americanism and rusticness, and being friends with the outdoors, but and masculine, a masculine outdoorsman. But this shirt doesn't have that. This shirt, it's a thinner cotton shirt, and just two muted colors make up the plaid pattern. And I suppose the fact that it's a button-up shirt and that it has a collar signify a certain willingness to like comply with society, with the social contract. It's like wearing a collared button up is like, it's like saying to society, I'm willing to play your game. You know, I'll it's like saying I'll play by the rules, and I'll try not to offend anybody. And I respect. It's like saying I have respect for widespread social norms, and I'm not here trying to break them. And it says something like I'll put a certain effort into my appearance as a consideration to you, to not jostle your experience, to not rock the boat. So that's my middle layer, and then the my innermost layer is one of these. I think if it were in a store, they would technically call it an A shirt. You know, like an undershirt, and it's like the kind that has like the low neck and no sleeves, and just like the thin straps that come over your shoulders, and is form-fitting. And it has a slightly more antagonistic social connotation, I believe. Especially if it were worn just by itself. It kind of implies a wounded masculinity when worn by itself. Like unapologetic. Look at my body. Look at my masculine body. What do you want to do about it? And it's for me it's very out of the ordinary to wear this shirt. It's something that I found somewhere. I found this shirt somewhere for free, of course. And I don't think I would wear it. I don't think I would wear it by itself in public. Probably not. Out of a sense of modesty. Hey, there's a bunch of wild onions growing out of this dam thing, this wall growing between the cracks. Oh, I should let you know that thus far in this episode of Walking and Talking, I've been very conscientious of listeners who aren't watching the video. So anything that happens to me in my world that's of like visual interest, I'm generally describing it as well. So like I'm not like showing the camera on things that are important for you to see, really. Like I'm trying to make it so that if you're just listening to the audio, you won't miss anything. So, you know, now you obviously hear the rushing water, and you know that I'm standing by the dam that I customarily walk out on. And it's reminding me that I still have to pee. You know, the A shirt, as no one actually calls it, but as it might be labeled in a Fruit of the Loom package in the store. This like it's like threatening masculine connotation, I think, is heightened by its colloquial name of wife beater, which is like it's wife beater is kind of like it is you know, it's a joking name for this piece of clothing that is kind of in hyperbole pointing out its connotations. But it also has, I think, lower socioeconomic class connotations. But I feel a little scared now. I feel not scared, but I feel wary. I feel a little bit wary of perhaps reifying the hierarchy of socioeconomic class by you know, talking about the lower and the higher. Not to say that hierarchy doesn't exist in a certain form. Or that we should like ignore it or anything, but perhaps I'm feeling like a little like cautious of revealing unexamined judgments that I may have regarding class. You know, and it's entirely possible that even the language that I'm using highlights my socioeconomic membership and or aspirations. and there could even be judgments embedded therein. But currently, I don't feel aware of judgments that I have right now. Or to rephrase that, like if I do have judgments and biases, personal judgments and biases surrounding class, I'm trying to stay aware of them or become aware of them. So now I'm wondering if any of the things that I said regarding my clothing and their connotations could have been insensitive. Like what would it mean for me to wear clothes regardless of what social connotations I think they might have? I don't know, it's pointless. It's kind of a pointless question. Because I think I am aware of connotations that different clothes have. I'm eating the banana now. And as I experience this mouth sensation of the squishiness and softness and sweetness of the banana, I'm thinking a little bit about the whole process of how it ended up here in my hand and my mouth. It was probably grown somewhere in Central or South America. Obviously the people involved directly in, in the physical labor of producing it could not have been paid a fair wage, I don't imagine. Just evidenced by how cheap bananas are in the store. They're so incredibly cheap that the actual physical laborers can't be getting paid much of anything. And then they shipped it to the United States. I don't know how, on a plane? On a boat? Probably not by ground. Probably not a truck driving all the way. I'm not sure if they do it by air or by sea. And somebody bought it from the store and then they dropped it on the sidewalk. I feel a little more subdued now. I'm thinking that my level of physical energy could have contributed to my willingness to talk about things that are of a more potentially controversial political nature. And to perhaps venture statements that could be found to contain insensitivities. You know, really talking about the exterior world in abstract terms of how I perceive it. Making generalizations, making social generalizations. It's risky. Is it helpful? I'm not even sure. Is it useful? I don't know. If I stick more closely to direct observations, there's less risk of saying something that's not true. You know, not objectively or totally true. Like the things that I was saying about clothing and their connotations were generalizations and involved archetypes and possibly even stereotypes. Probably stereotypes, yeah. And I just think that there's enough of that kind of communication in the world that there's no need to contribute any more of it. I don't know. Maybe now I'm being overly judgmental. Of my previous previous statements. You know, it's funny. It's funny when I say the word statements. When I say my past statements, my previous statements, it has a feeling to me of being embroiled in a scandal and controversy. Like even without having an actual discourse today, just in the course of walking and talking, it's as if I've mentally embroiled myself in a controversy. But I don't know. Maybe I'm this is becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe not. Well, here's this. There's a group of these red and black bugs that I've seen before that I don't know what they are. They're just clustered around this rock. Anyhow, I feel more subdued now, and I almost feel like a sense of remorse, if not for anything specific that I said, for like what's the word, a certain kind of I want to say the word braggadocious spirit, but braggadocious. I'm not sure if that's a real word, if I'm making that up. Is that a real word? Braggadocious? If you want to, like, if you know, you can comment, or if you want to, like, Google that. Or, like, I'll just rephrase it and say an overly confident spirit that led me to speak with less than the full amount of care that I am capable of. I don't know, maybe now I'm exaggerating. Maybe now I'm exaggerating. And I feel cautious. I feel cautious of even entering into the next subject that I am about to broach. But I feel nonetheless I feel very aware of a certain of a potential whoa, there's a decapitated rat for you. I feel aware of here's a busted ass solar calculator. Cool. It works. It's really busted looking, but it works. You got any math problems you want me to solve for you? Like what's 951,753 divided by 2,846,917. What do you think the answer is? It's 0.3343. Oh, 0.331. Okay, that's what I was thinking. I'm aware of a possible critique of walking and talking from the perspective of class struggle and privilege. Because I'm a white male and I'm talking for like hours on end. Just saying what I think about everything. But you know. Now I feel now I feel like uncomfortable to some extent, having broached this topic. Having implicated myself. Having veered into contentious territory. The critique that I'm imagining is that white men already have overly amplified voices in the world in comparison to other genders and races. And so what's not needed is a million hours of one white guy talking and expressing himself about whatever things that he's no expert on. And this feels valid to me. At least right now it feels like a valid critique. In other times when I don't think about that very much, and I'm more, and I like stay out of anything that might be controversial or offensive. Now I feel seriousness to what I'm saying. I feel an increased amount of gravity. I'm just kind of thinking about social implications of walking and talking from a class, racial, and gender perspective. And it's not fun to think about. But probably I'm not, as I walk here and I think, I'm not arriving at any conclusions. I'm not arriving at any conclusions about like the ethical validity of walking and talking. And it's maybe it's best to actually I think I feel like I feel in some sort of conundrum, because I was gonna say something like perhaps what's needed is not my explanation or justification of what I'm doing. And then as I started to say that, I noticed that statement in itself was a kind of conclusion. Here's a bike seat cover. Oh, this seems kind of nice. It's too big for my bike seat though, or too small for my bike seat. Man, should I? I'll leave this. I'm gonna leave this here for now, and kind of hope that somebody else takes it. I don't think I should be arguing any point here. If indeed the criticism is valid, then I don't think we really need like my conclusive interpretation here. Of the social implications of walking and talking. And so it's more like maybe I should just shut up about it. Maybe I should just shut up about it and then focus a little bit more acutely on my more direct observations and emotions of the very present moment that we're in here. The types of observations it's funny. It's like it's not like anything that I've said in all this time has been a conclusion. Everything leads to the next thing, and it's like everything that I say, that I say seems to kind of undermine the last thing that I said. Yet now there's still this slight feeling of gravity, a slight feeling of seriousness. It's more than slight. Like feeling feeling seriously the importance of being careful about what I say. But then when I said that, it's like, why should I have to be careful about what I say? Because maybe if I'm being careful, that implies that I'm hiding certain things, like hiding certain certain attitudes or beliefs that I have to be careful to hide. Which, that's not what I want. If anything, I would like to expose any unexamined beliefs or attitudes that I might have. What does that? Is that really going to happen in a monologue? Or is dialogue needed for that? Seems like it happens it seems like it happens much more directly in dialogue. That your attitudes, beliefs, perceptions, worldviews become apparent as such when they come into conflict with someone else's beliefs, attitudes, and worldviews and perceptions. Maybe I should be having more dialogues. When I said that, it felt like when I heard myself say that, I felt like a self-consciousness of I imagined a public hearing that quote, which I'll repeat it again, like in as close to the exact inflection that I originally did it. Maybe I should be having more dialogues. Now, that time it sounded even more exaggerated or something, but it's a little bit exaggerated. Maybe I should be having more dialogues. I imagined a public hearing that and scoffing at what would be a very obvious realization to any normal person that wouldn't, or to any sufficiently aware, socially aware person, that would not be a realization or an epiphany, but it would be a given. And thus I judged myself in the imagined eyes of the other, which I think is a pretty normal thing to do. That I think everybody does that, and it's not necessarily a thing to be ashamed of. Like it has, like, that behavior has a function in a society, and making a society work, to imagine the viewpoint of others. I don't remember this stand of Phragmites being so tall and thick before. Maybe it was. Here's a gigantic Paulownia leaf. It's bigger. Damn, it's huge. I don't even know what other object is that size. It's like the size of a full-grown stingray. Alright, this looks like watercress. Ooh, this looks good. Damn. It's like nice and succulent stem. Mmm. It's really mustardy tasting. Damn, this is good. It has an incredibly intense and complex pungency and bitterness to it. I feel controversial. I feel as if I'm talking about things that are emotionally loaded for many people. This watercress is like, it's like fumigating my mouth. It's like I just like ate a little bit of it and like, whoa. Even like when I inhale, it's like if you open a strong bottle of horseradish and like breathe it, take a big whiff, like it's intense. Similarly, what are the connotations of spending so much time doing this? Well, it's certainly evidence that I'm not faced with such hardship that that I have time to do things that don't make money, and yet I can still survive. But beyond that, I wouldn't dare to impose any more implications. But you're welcome to. I'm walking past some other pawpaw trees that I don't think I noticed recently, but it's too late in the season for there to be any fruit on them anyways. How come I didn't feel this this specific type of sense of gravity or seriousness in previous episodes? Am I talking about internal experience, or am I now talking about external abstractions, or am I talking about external realities? Would it be would it be offensive or insensitive to refer to class structure as an abstraction? I can imagine it being yes, potentially offensive or insensitive in the fact that it could possibly it could potentially downplay certain hardships that are caused by it. And then on the other end, I don't want to go so far as to reify that structure and make generalizations about it, and generalize it, or really generalizations. What I should say is I don't want to make generalizations about people that are who are all involved therein. To the extent that it's real. I mean, like, in one sense, yes, it is an abstraction. And that, you know, even money and capital is an abstraction. Man, I feel kind of self-conscious of myself now for probably talking about things that other people that are more specialized in this area have probably spoken about more eloquently or in depth or with more insight. But I guess I'll continue nonetheless. When I said nonetheless, it was kind of funny because I felt like self-conscious of the socioeconomic class connotations of that word. Anyhow, you know, it is a abstraction in the sense that it's a collective belief where people collectively agree on the value of property and the value of money and therefore of power. But to the extent that we do collectively believe in all that stuff, it becomes a reality. It becomes true. But it's not like it's so easy for one person to say, okay, I don't believe it anymore. I don't believe in it anymore. So like, it'll cease to be a reality. The batteries ran out long before I was expecting them to. I'm not sure exactly how much. Not sure exactly how much got cut off, but when I noticed that they got cut off, that the batteries had run out, I was I was talking about how class and money and power are both real and not real, because they're all collective beliefs and abstractions. But in the fact that they, and in the fact that those beliefs are collective, they become a very real force. And so it's not like any individual can just stop believing in them and interact with the world as if those things don't exist. I don't know, maybe they could, but it seems like they might be at a disadvantage. And then I was talking about how I do perceive these things as abstraction, but that I also interact with that abstraction, and also it could be seen from an outside perspective. Me having a certain position within this very real structure allows me to have a perspective of it being an abstraction. Maybe it could be now that I'm speaking in cryptic, erudite terminology to make myself sound like I'm really intelligent and thoughtful about this matter. Maybe I'm displaying certain signifiers of my socioeconomic status, namely education, which a specific, which amounts to really just like vocabulary. This gravity is still looming. It's still present here. For me as well as for you, I am guessing. Are we giving too much? Are we giving too much weight and reality to this abstraction right now? Are we perpetuating its influence and therefore its existence by continuing to talk about it? Are we in some very small way partially responsible for its existence by continuing to acknowledge and talk about it and allow it to be a presence in our life? And so what I'm saying is are we reifying it right now? And I'm wondering, like, is it possible to shift into a mental state where it actually stops existing for us, at least maybe temporarily, and temporarily in this kind of space that we have together right now. You know, I'm not saying that it won't continue to be an influence and a force in the rest of our lives. But I'm wondering if we can move into some space here where in absence of pressing pragmatic concerns, can we relate to each other this sounds kind of funny. Can we just like let it can we let it just like fizzle out for a little while? And like and be a little bit and like just exist for a short time without this heavy thing mediating our relationship to each other. I don't know. Maybe, but what if I'm being insensitive by even suggesting that? What if because of my position, what if because of my position as being ostensibly a benefiter of the power dynamic, that of course I would like to like to try and relate without it or something, or to say maybe we're just creating this in it, and we have the power to like not let it we have the power to like allow it to die away from our experience. Whereas for someone else, maybe you, maybe not you, it wouldn't be so possible for you to exist without it being an influence in your life, because it's a negative influence, and that's harder to ignore. That's possible. It's like I'm not really enjoying remaining in this this realm of subject matter, I guess I would say. Although I know I've been using I've probably been using some fairly ambiguous language. So if you're just joining us here, you might be confused about what the subject matter actually is. And I'm slightly confused myself. And I also like feel confused about whether I'm continuing to reify it, or if I'm trying to reject something, and thus it's like by trying to reject it, it's like keeps like coming around the back corner and biting me in the ass. So while I'm not particularly, I'm not enjoying the seriousness of this right now. I feel like it's completely unavoidable, and to try and avoid it, or to like put an effort into consciously altering the tone of this interaction would be to would not be helpful. Like it'd be like sweeping something under the rug. And as I just now referred to this as an interaction, I also feel fully aware of that it's a monologue, and it's like before like earlier in this video even I was thinking about it as an interaction, because your presence here, the fact that you are listening, is very important to me. Or I mean, it's not that I would be upset if you stopped listening, but that you are listening to this like completes something here, and allows for a communication and a connection, which I really value. And I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for you. I wouldn't be talking for such a long time if no one were listening. I would be thinking. I would just be thinking silently. And that would be different. I would probably be thinking different thoughts if I weren't speaking them aloud. But speaking these thoughts and recording them and knowing that I'm posting them on YouTube puts a certain kind, and knowing that you are listening, and that you have a certain kind of power as well. Like you actually do have power in our relationship. To express things to me, but not in such a way that it directly and immediately impacts the content of this video, of the video, you know, of what I'm saying right now. But you can respond to me by commenting, or by sending me a YouTube message. Maybe I should even give you my email address. Should I just tell you my email address? Or is there any reason for me to keep that secret? I can tell you my email address. It's sittingandsmiling@gmail.com. And if you send me an email there, I'll get it. And I'll probably read it. I'm not going to guarantee that I won't guarantee that I'll respond to it. But if it seems like something that's like has a level of of considered thought put into it, I'm gonna want to respond more. What am I saying? I was talking about how you have a certain power. And it's just like a social power, like I feel accountable to you. And not in a way that I feel a need to pander towards you, or to like say what you expect me to say, or to say what you want to hear. But I feel accountable towards being as honest as I can, being as honest as possible, being as honest as is possible for me. And maintaining like as high a level of conscientiousness as I can about you, about your presence and your listening to this. Oh, here's a little dried up garter snake that's like blue. Wow. It's like got blue patches all over it. It's really beautiful. I wish I could have seen it alive. I wonder what kind of garter snake that was. Once again, my email address, sittingandsmiling@gmail.com. Whoa, what's that? I think it's just a squirrel. Maybe a chipmunk. I think it's just a chipmunk. It made a little choo at the end of its scamper. Yeah, I was talking about, I said earlier about where I was like, maybe I should be having more dialogues. I said it in that tone of voice. And I did film one episode of Walking and Talking. Actually, there have been two times when I've talked with another person in real life while walking and talking. And the first one was the first episode of Walking and Talking, in which towards the end of it, I ran into a friend of mine, and he became part of the video. And then there was another time where I was out of town in a different city, and walked and talked for like an hour and a half or something with a different friend, but I was trying to film it with my phone, and it didn't get recorded, or the file became corrupted, so it became a lost episode. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Walking and Talking could involve more dialogue. But anyhow, that's for the future, possibly. As for now, I'm continuing to deal with this situation of being in a monologue and feeling a little silly about being in a monologue, you know? It's a different feeling than I've had before on these Walking and Talking things. It's a different feeling. Because for instance, I don't know, maybe the certain thought processes that I've been investigating so far, or like allowing to unfurl, are difficult to do in dialogue and easier to do in monologue. You know, just this process of continually investigating my own internal processes. Look at this. This is cool. I'm looking at this big mess of I think Japanese hops vines, and on the front of this like big wad of vines, there's this big opening that's like 2 feet tall and 3 feet wide, that just looks like a doorway, and I could like crawl into there, and looks like a little shelter or something. Continually looking at my own thought processes and so far that's generally been a rewarding experience, or maybe not exactly rewarding, but an experience of discovery, and interesting enough to continue doing. And then like something about I'm just smelling this plant that I keep seeing that smells really amazing, that I'm not sure what it's called. This one. If you know this plant, then tell me in the comment section. that was that's I guess that was one for the video viewers, because I would have a really hard time describing the plant, because I feel like my plant anatomy vocabulary is pretty rusty. Man, feeling a little bit hungry and like thinking about the banana which I already ate. That's funny. I've eaten more than usual on the walking and talking thing, but still feeling hungry. But dialogue can happen, you know, can happen in normal life, like all the time. Would there be any reason to would there be a reason to actually film it and publish it on YouTube? Maybe there would. What about trialogue? That's just kind of a joke, I guess. Sometimes when I observe myself thinking or speaking, and I try to find like what's the most authentic part, or like try to get down to the core of the most authentic part, and then when I can really see in there, it just seems totally empty. Like the closer I get to authenticity, the closer I get to just looking into emptiness. But it's not necessarily a bad feeling. Feeling at home with that is what I would really like. And I guess I want to say that words are necessarily limited in the amount and the type of experience that they can convey. But I don't know, maybe even within that limitation, we can share an experience that that's actually beyond what the words themselves contain. I don't know if that made any real sense, what I just said. That might have been a pretty empty statement. Man, I think I like this better than writing. But to be honest, I haven't done a whole lot of actual writing. But it seems like this conveys my reality a little better than like writing and editing a thing. as if like to write and edit something and revise it to come up with a finished product that would be like my conclusive standpoint on reality seems limiting, whereas talking like this I can keep questioning the thing that I just most recently said and continue like a very active and questioning thought process. And here you are hearing me espousing a liberal value of self-questioning, with the implication being growth and development. And so I can keep sometimes observing maybe the sources of the thoughts that I have, exterior sources, exterior influences, and noticing that every thought that I maybe originally might attribute to be my own has an exterior source and exterior influence and isn't purely my own. But that's not to say that I should be disavowing my own accountability for the things that I say. I'm remembering now, like several minutes ago, and for a long portion of this video, the feeling of gravity you know what? I'm getting too close. I'm getting too close to my origin point. Too early on. I was remembering early in the video for a significant portion, feeling an intense gravity and seriousness of delving into subject matter that I perceive to have to be emotionally loaded for a lot of people and be potentially controversial. Now I feel less. I almost want to say that it's almost as if, to some extent, I felt on guard, or like a need to be very careful And now I feel a little bit less. I feel a little bit less of that, but I still feel fairly subdued and fairly calm. But I feel like it's funny. I was gonna say like respectful of you or something, but that's not really a feeling. I don't think that's kind of like making a judgment of calling of judging my behavior as having an objective quality, when really the emotion is actually a subjective thing. So it's like, what do I actually feel? I feel relatively calm. And serious. I feel serious, but not in an urgent way. Not in an alarmed way. I think there was a time in this video when I felt cautious of offending you, and in a sense I think it almost felt like that puts some slight distance between us or something. And now I feel like much more calmed down and like not so afraid of offending you. But of course, you know, now the things that I'm talking about have gone away from subject matter that could be touchy potentially, and it's more like, and I'm more just like talking about my own feeling and experience right now. And so that's like safer. That's a safer thing to talk about if I'm actually just like kind of sticking to my own subjective experience and mainly talking about my own observations and feelings. But I just imagine that like the whatever emotional state that I'm in while I'm talking is getting expressed and transfers to some extent to you. And so now I imagine the relatively more calm tone that I'm speaking in now might be contributing to a state of relative calmness for you. That's what I'm imagining, anyways. I think this episode perhaps a little bit more than the others is could be effective as just audio without the video. But the video, the video will convey a little bit more of the environmental factors here of the season of autumn. But even the audio, you can hear me walking through leaves. Probably the effects of the tea that I drank earlier today are wearing off, and so I'm in a less active energy level. But it doesn't. I guess it doesn't necessarily feel bad. I feel actually a little bit transported right now, just by having stayed with this process for a few hours now. Transported to what, I don't know, or away from what, I don't know. I wonder if this could become boring towards the end, or if if a decrease in energy level towards the end is like an emotional letdown. It could be that that it's not particularly gratifying for you as a listener. But of course, I know that you're not just in it for the gratification. Even talking about that seems like it might be a disservice now, because it's more like we can just be okay with whatever we're experiencing right now. I think. Well, I'll just say that that's kind of what I'm experiencing right now, is like feeling kind of just okay with with this energy level right here, and feeling kind of like in sort of an accepting mind state. Maybe even the slower rate of talking here and the more spaciousness in between the talking could be having could be appreciated as well. And you can hear the audio of the environment a little more. And you know, like the words of course are going to be mentally foregrounded. But it can be interesting to try and defeat that process in yourself that happens pretty automatically. By that I mean, like, our attention goes to the words and their meanings above all of the other sounds. Which is, you know, certainly a function of our development as a species and as a culture, that language plays this important role and affects our decisions. But in this situation, I'm telling you that these words, this language, is not conveying anything that's important to you. It's not conveying anything that needs to influence your decisions, your decision making. It's not, you know, understanding these words that I'm saying is not necessarily going to, you know, it's not going to, like, lead to a better state, like, of enlightenment or something. It's not going to, like, enlighten you. And in some sense, it's possible that actually it could contribute to your enlightenment, or it could expand your understanding of reality in some sense, but it's relative. Like, the idea of enlightenment, I think, is just as much of a collective belief and an abstraction as money or power or class or anything else. Which is to say that doesn't mean that it's not real, but it's also an abstraction. I think that is dependent on the kind of significance that we attribute to it before ever experiencing it. And you know, we frame it outside of experiencing it, and create all this build up to something. And if all that build up and significance attributed to it weren't created in the quote unquote, normal life, or in the quote unquote unenlightened state, like then enlightenment wouldn't exist. It's like just it is another dichotomy that I think is socially created. It's like it's a form of specialization, I think. Kind of like an example could be like pole vaulting or something. Like maybe there's a better example. Yeah, we'll just, might not be the best example, like pole vaulting, like, like, why do people strive to be the best pole vaulter in the world, to win the pole vaulting gold medal in the Olympics? It's like, using a pole to jump over this other high pole wouldn't have any significance if we didn't socially create the sport of pole vaulting and assign some kind of significance to that and name it as a form of achievement. And similarly, like the idea of enlightenment, I think. Oh, here's some cormorants. Cormorant standing on a branch that's in the water. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. Like the idea of enlightenment, like the notion that one person could be enlightened and another person not enlightened, or one person more enlightened than another person. I think is entirely created by like certain spiritual traditions. And like you can't have the idea of enlightenment or a perfect being or like a perfect way of existing if you didn't also have this idea of somebody else as being flawed, or like limited in their perspective. And like I think that this experience of enlightenment that that some people purport to have, and I don't doubt that they have that experience, but I think that the experience is created by a sort of buildup of this idea of some experience that is incredibly hard to achieve, and that anything that you can like comprehend as the experience, like is not it. Like it's something that's fundamentally incomprehensible. And and it just all it is just like realizing that you're here now, and like that's all there is. That like this experience is all that there is. It's like that's not even like that wouldn't really like be any kind of realization for anybody if we hadn't like confused everything to begin with by the notion of their existing spirituality. Like the idea of spirituality creates a kind of hierarchy of like of rejecting certain behaviors, of rejecting certain outlooks, or even like rejecting certain types of subjectivity. In order to create this hierarchy where like a certain outlook and a certain behavior and a certain attitude is better than a different one. And spirituality comes from it serves a completely social function that like leads us to interact, to that like it's all like it all arose to fulfill a need to direct individuals' behavior into a mode that is conducive to functioning as a society and proliferating as a society and thriving as a society. And certain modes of spiritual thought eventually become outdated as our world changes and our societies change. And even something like Buddhism, I think, is not like exempt from this. To just realize that everything's here as it is, and that's all. Or like to like just to realize the like to realize the dichotomy between like subjective and objective, or like interior, exterior, like is merely a dichotomy, but that it's gonna, it'll persist nonetheless, and has reality to it. That wouldn't be a realization that's needed to have if we didn't have notions of separation to begin with. What am I saying? I seem to be finding fault with something. Like my attitude right now is like of fault finding, but I don't know what it is that I actually would find fault with. I don't know what it is that I actually take issue with. So yeah, I guess none of this is to say anything. And you know, this whole tangent started out with me trying to reassure you that there wasn't anything here to like enlighten you with, and now I'm just like remembering that. It's like I started on that, and then I went off on this tangent that was like had seemed to have a very like didactic tone to it, and like a very like which is seems hilarious to me now. Like I definitely feel like I took on this tone of like let me set things straight. Let me debunk spirituality. Let me debunk the idea of enlightenment. Which is funny because it's like engaging in specifically the kind of behavior that I seem to be telling you that wasn't really here, or that I didn't have, that I intended not to do. But it remains true, I think. No, not totally true. It remains true and false that I don't have anything important to tell you. That sounded like a nice like quotable soundbite or something. Little nice little like snippet. Nice little encapsulation. It remains true and false that I don't have anything to tell you. Or that, wait, what was it? It remains true and false that I don't have anything important to tell you. I don't know. I guess it's all right. I've just been sitting here on the dam for a while because it seems like somehow I got close to my point of origin too early, and so I'm just like spending some extra time on this dam. I remember now at the very beginning of the video how I thought that, how I was like feeling the concerns about the quality of the video and like feeling self-consciousness, and it's like not that ever completely goes away, but like at this point now it seems like, I guess it feels like there's something going on here that's worth doing. am I being modest, or am I doing like a, or am I being like facetiously humble? Not facetiously. Am I being disingenuinely modest? I don't know. It doesn't really. I don't think it really matters. I'm kind of tired at this point of like of trying to be authentic. I just want to like I just want to like accept the reality that there isn't any, that I don't like possess any real authenticity. And just continue. These birds look really cool to me. I already looked at these cormorants. That's what, I think that's what they are. Little cormies, as I like to call them. What if here's I'm gonna read you some graffiti that I'm looking at here. It says, "It's not the high running around, it's the friends you make coming down." That seems kind of wise. It's not the high running around, it's the friends you make coming down. Oh, that feels kind of sweet to me. It seems like, maybe it's kind of referring to a drug experience, but could be applied to other experiences too. Like I could apply that to I don't know, it might be kind of reductive, actually. It might be kind of reductive. I was like gonna apply it to my experience with like a romantic relationship that was like that I'm equating with a high running around. Had that feeling to it. Kind of frantic running around, high, but not very grounded. And then with that relationship ending like coming down, which feels really bad coming down, but then I've made some close friends. in that process. So it seems like this little bit of graffiti wisdom can be applied to my life. Maybe we can. Maybe it's a good time for another little silence here. Just we can foreground the environmental sounds instead of the talking for a little bit. I feel feelings of affection towards you. Just feelings of friendship towards you. I don't know what that means. I feel appreciative of you, and I feel kind of a light feeling right now that is associated with your presence here. Oh man, I'm finally like shedding these layers now. These 2 layers, because I'm getting like pretty hot now, but they're half on, and still I feel hesitant to just don this A shirt. Still because of the connotations that it has in this specific context of hanging out alone on this dam. It's like that's like somewhat secluded and off the path, but also like a place where people hang out sometimes. And I just don't want to like be projecting a menacing image to somebody who wants to come hang out on this dam. I don't want to be projecting an image of menacing masculinity. And like this isn't to say that masculinity needs to be menacing. In fact, I would really much prefer it if it weren't. Which is why I think I'm gonna take off the hooded sweatshirt and just put on the button-up shirt with the collar, the collared button-up shirt, which although it does have these the connotations of acquiescing to the demands of polite society, which to some extent I acquiesce to. Not completely. But I think generally in this context, it will project more of a sense of approachability. Than just the Acer. And I'm not so hot as I was when I was wearing the hooded sweatshirt. But I have to make sure that I didn't leave any objects in the pockets of the hooded sweatshirt that might fall out now that I'm not wearing it. And it appears that I didn't. It's pretty pleasant sitting on this dam. The sun feels nice. Man, I even feel tempted to go full shirtless and just absorb some ultraviolet rays. But I think that wouldn't be very professional of me right now. I'm in the entertainment industry. And we have to be professional here. I didn't announce this silence that has been taking place. But I'll announce the next one. Here comes another silence. Of course, by silence, I just mean not talking. Which betrays my automatic mental process of foregrounding speech. Can you listen to the speech without foregrounding it? Maybe. What if I talk really quiet? What if I talk a lot quieter, so that the other sounds have a chance to compete volume-wise? Somebody's listening to music. Somebody's listening to music. Are you foregrounding it? Did you foreground the words in the music? I did for a while. I foregrounded the lyrics in the music. around the last words that I said. Is it possible for you to hear my words, but pay equal attention to everything else? Probably not. Probably not. Is it possible that man, I feel embarrassed to say what I was thinking. I feel embarrassed to say what I was going to say. Maybe I should go ahead and say it anyways. Is it possible that the modes, well, nah. Is it possible that continuing to debunk or undermine or question every thought that we have could be clearing the way for a type of worldview or a type of consciousness that is more conducive to society functioning in the world as it is becoming today. Sounds like a lofty claim to make. In keeping with that process, you know, we should probably just debunk that whole idea. I think religions will keep evolving, and man, I'm not even sure of that though. Seems like we're going backwards in some respects. Maybe what appears to be the backwards is actually not indicative of the overall trend. Maybe we can hold out some hope for that. But you know, when I say the word hope, it's that's kind of making clear the bias that I might have. But I'm recognizing that bias as being a social norm that like humanism. I don't think like I'm inherently in the core of whatever I am is humanist. I think it's like I'll present socially as a humanist when it's advantageous to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like generally is socially advantageous to present as a humanist. And it's not like it's totally a lie. It's not like I'm being like totally disingenuous. But it's still like part of the social, I don't know, part of the social self. But I guess the social self might be all of the self. I don't know. It might be all of the self. Or at least a large chunk of it. What do I mean? What do I mean, humanist? I guess it means ascribing. What I mean here is ascribing inherent value to human life. And when we really investigate this idea, we can find a lot of contradictions. Like somebody around us dies, somebody close to us dies. Of course, it feels terrible, and the feelings of grief and loss are very real. And somebody close to someone that you know dies, then the empathy with that person could be very real. And you may experience their loss to some extent, but definitely not as great as they experience it. But then, on the grand scheme of things, considering that in the world thousands of people die every day, it's not really possible for us to feel an amount of grief that would be proportional to how we would feel when one person close to us dies. It's not really possible to extend proportionally that amount of grief to everyone in the world who dies. Otherwise, grief would be overwhelming all the time. And it's like we can't we can't we can't say that like death is unequivocally a bad thing. As you know, it wouldn't really be possible, I don't think, for everybody to keep being born and everybody to be immortal. It's just, I don't think it's like thermodynamically sustainable. People, you know, your body's going to decay. And eventually drastically change form into something that's not recognizable as a body. So I guess I mean at the core, like I mean by humanism, like prioritizing the alive over the inanimate, and specifically prioritizing human life. But you know, now I'm seeing a contradiction in what I'm saying now, because of course I prioritize human life, and of course I prioritize my own life over other lives. Like if I were the trolley car conductor, and I had to choose between turning to the left track, which would run over a person, or turning to the right track, which would run over a dog, I would naturally take the right track. But you know, I guess I can point to. I guess I can point to that as being manifesting as the social human. That's funny. It's funny, just right now I had the thought to say, man, I feel like I'm rambling now. But of course I'm rambling. I can consider this quality of humans being humanistic as an inherent nature of the kind of thermodynamic energy pattern that we are. Like considering us as being a function of entropy, of you know, us as being a life form, as are fulfilling a thermodynamic function of increasing entropy in the universe. That's what we do by our life processes, is convert high-grade energy into low-grade heat energy. That's what we're good at doing as people. That's what we're best at. It's like what we live to do, and it's like the only thing that we do for the most part. And humanism plays a function within that role of looking out for each other, making sure that this pattern of matter and energy proliferates, stays alive and well and healthy and happy, so that it can continue effectively carrying out its thermodynamic purpose. And thus what we consider the destruction of the environment. Yes, it is the destruction of the environment, but it's also just a changing of matter. And it is tragic and sad on not only the humanistic level, but also the biocentric level, where we empathize with all other living beings. But it's not tragic on the thermodynamic functioning level, where there doesn't exist this hierarchy between the living and the non-living. On that level, it's just change, which is inherent in the nature of the universe. But this is not to say, this is not to dismiss emotions. It's like all these different levels are present in our experience. I feel like I'm explaining something to you. This is odd, I guess. Or it's like a little incongruent with statements that I've made in the past. I feel like if you want to implicate yourself in controversy and scandal, all you have to do is say statements that I have made. Statements that I have made were not in keeping with blah 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 blah. While statements that I have made were not intended to blah 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 blah. While I can understand that statements I have made could be interpreted as blah 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 blah, those statements were not intended to blah 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 blah. Yeah, if you wanna like, if you really wanna like become a public villain, just refer to things you say as statements. Statements. Just be careful of making statements. Hey, it was just a joke. It's just a joke. That one doesn't work so well either. certain statements that I have made were taken out of context to mean blah 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 blah, when actually within the context of blah 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 blah, you know, I'm not trying to denounce anybody who's made statements or feels regretful of certain statements that they've made. I feel like I'm off topic. I feel like I've wandered off on a tangent. But that's kind of that's perfect. That's kind of like just the whole thing is just a tangent. And maybe I feel like I should pretend as if I'm like returning to the point, as if there was one. Get back on topic as if there was one. I'm just gonna like venture some kind of searching sort of sentence here that is kind of fragmentary and run on. This kind of a run on sentence here. You can tell by the way I inflect the words at the end that they don't end with a conclusive tone. They sound like I'm just adding verbal commas rather than any periods. I guess I want to thank you for staying with me thus far. I'm genuinely impressed. And I'm going to emphasize that even at any point, like even we're nearing the end now, we don't have much more to go. But you could still just stop now, and you're not going to be missing anything. It's just your experience is going to change to something else. I don't think you have anything to gain by continuing to listen to this or watch this video, but I encourage you to keep doing it anyways. You're not going to gain anything from anything else either. In the ultimate sense, hey, why not keep watching my YouTube channel? This seems like there's potential here for like a good slogan for walking and talking. Hey, watch walking and talking. Nothing else is going to make you happy. Or watch walking and talking. It's one of infinite experiences you could be having. Oh hey, the camera stopped. I'm not sure how long ago it did, and it might stop again. It might stop again suddenly. Oh yeah, the battery's almost dead. I'm just like trying to add a little tagline here that to tell you this, the slogan for walking and talking that I have. I hope you heard the first one is probably one of the best in the running of all emotional topographies are sum zero, walking and talking.